My name is Colin. I'm a survivor of the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007, the worst shooting in our country's history. And since then, I've become an advocate for better gun laws in America, and now work at the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence here in Washington, D.C. And this is my story. I still have very clear memories, very clear images of me lying on the ground and seeing all these shell casings just lying all in front of me. I was just trying to play dead. I was trying to act like, he got me. 5 years ago, I was a college student at Virginia Tech. I just came back from a weekend trip with my fraternity and had my 9 a.m. French class, to go to. French teacher was great, and it was making that class fly by. And then it was a few minutes after that, where in the middle of lecture, we heard a bang, bang, bang. And we all kind of stopped and looked at each other, and then we heard a bang, bang, bang. I mean, this time it was much closer, much louder. And I remember the teacher's face just dropped, and she went immediately to the doorway to look into the hallway to see what was making all the noise. And as soon as she opened the door, she slammed it back shut. And she said, "Everybody get underneath your desk, somebody call 911.
It's been just a very scary, scary morning, to say the least, at Virginia Tech, hearing some of these students talking about being in class at Norris Hall and hearing bangs from next door and then screams, and hearing gunshots, and students huddling in the corner in a classroom at Norris.
The next 10 minutes was just a constant sound of gunfire. Just bang, bang, bang. Clip would change, and then bang, bang, bang. I saw somebody wearing boots, and then I saw the khaki pants, and then I saw the white shirt, and then I saw two holsters over both the shoulders. And I never got to the face. And all of a sudden, I felt like someone had kicked me above my knee. Real hard kick, and then it was followed by a sharp stinging sensation, and then kind of got numb and then warm, and I could feel wetness and warmth coming down my leg. That's when I realized, I just got shot. This is real. This person's shooting people. My knee and has remained in pieces right here. Second bullet came in my hip and has remained in pieces on this side of my hip. The third one came in here, remained in pieces here, and the fourth one came underneath my armpit and ultimately out the back. This is the only one that's exited. I shot 4 times in total. And right as one of the last times I was shot, pretty much all of a sudden the shooting just stopped. And you could tell the police were very close to our room at this point. And I thought that the person was waiting for the police to come in. And then the police came right to the door. And as soon as they opened the door, the first thing they said was, "Shooter's down, shooter down." And that's when I realized that the last gunshot I heard was the one he gave to himself in the front of our classroom. I had one image looking back into the room of seeing bodies still on the floor, not moving. But I didn't think that they were dead. I don't know. It was just a crazy, mind-blowing situation. Finally, we got to the hospital and got into the emergency room and saw just people around me all over the place, rushing around. And once I got there, I knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that I was going to live.
I did
natural.
the dishes in the sink this morning.
Thank you. Do you remember where you were when you got that phone call?
I'm always going to remember. It was a regular old Monday morning, and something. My mother-in-law was visiting. Your grandmother was visiting, and she had the news on because she was worried about the weather. She was thinking that it was going to delay her train. So we were watching the news and CNN, and suddenly it came on. There'd been a shooting. I was getting more and more nervous because it seemed like a really, really serious event. So eventually I broke down. I thought, well, Annie's going to be really upset if she doesn't hear something about this until later. So I got on the phone and called her secretary, and I said, I've been watching this on TV and it's getting pretty bad. I said, I haven't heard from Colin yet, but maybe. She says, well, I can't talk to her now because she's on the phone with a hospital. And my heart just sank. I was like, what hospital? She said, oh, a hospital just called. And I almost lost it at that point, because, I immediately realized this is not normal. And then a few seconds later she came on and she said that you'd called and that you'd been shot, but through the side, once through the side, but you were going to be okay. And that was a huge relief.
I didn't have to do this. I could have left. I could have fled. But no.
My family, we couldn't even say his name for the longest time. We didn't want to give him personal human traits. We thought of him as this horrible monster. But then, after we learned more about what happened, the history behind that, his history, we learned that this kid was, like many kids I remember growing up with in grade school, middle school, high school, that had been bullied and ridiculed and had no friends and were the outcasts and the loners and couldn't connect with anybody. And I finally watched some of his tapes that he's made and sent into the news, and you hear what he's saying and you realize that this is not a happy person. It's just somebody who's been tormented their entire life. When you realize that, I feel bad for him. Bad for that no one was able to help him, no one was able to connect with him and show him that things can be okay. The hardest thing for me was meeting the families of my classmates who were killed. Knowing that I'm alive and their child wasn't alive, is no longer alive. What do I say? I'm sorry. I can't say anything to comfort them. I don't know why it was me and not them. I never will. I don't want to just leave a dark place in my life. I want to work on that to make that as bright as possible, I guess, in a way. And now, with this work I do now, advocating and trying to change some of the laws in our country, I feel it's very rewarding work. It's not easy, because I meet other people who have similar stories, have horrible stories that they hear about, losing loved ones and having so much injury to themselves with situations that could have been prevented.
I wasn't going to just sit back and accept that, oh, you got shot. Tough. Now how can we go on from here? I wanted to find out why. I wanted to find out why that kid had arrived at that spot on that day with those guns, and what was his motivation. And since he was dead, there was nothing going to come out in a trial. So we weren't going to find out unless we actually sought the information.
We started going to the Capitol in Richmond,
yeah,
and started there at the state level. And
they were quite prepared to make changes to mental health as long as it didn't cost anything, hardly. But they were never going to do anything about guns. And that was crazy, because there we were in a state, we were 9 months after the worst mass shooting in a college setting, at least, in the life of the country. And the state legislature was not going to do anything about keeping guns out of the hands of people like the person who shot you. However, they were prepared to put in a piece of legislation, and they actually passed it, that would allow people like him to get guns if they were cured, or if they said they were cured, or if they thought they were cured.
So now I work at the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence here, which is probably the largest national gun violence prevention organization in America. And it's involved with Capitol Hill, with changing our laws, and it's also involved with mobilizing the American people and outreach and education. I moved to DC to see one very specific thing change, and that is doing background checks on all gun sales. I thought we already did that, and was shocked to learn that we didn't. And it just seems so simple, so common sense to me, that you have to go through a background check before you buy a gun. I went to multiple gun shows in multiple states. I've bought guns without showing my ID. I've been with other people who bought guns without showing any ID, without going through any background checks, who just paid their money and walked out. This is the exact problem that we're talking about. I wonder if we can see your Mahdi Egyptian. I'm looking at that thing.
This thing is pretty diesel, dude.
Pretty good?
Yeah. Expanded stock, 30 round clip. You want 660 for it?
Yeah, I'll take it. the over 18 Ohio resident with no tax and no fingerprint.
So this is what we bought today at a gun show in Ohio.
With no background check,
No license shown.
not a lot of cash.
After getting involved with the Brady campaign, I met a wonderful woman named Maria Cole, who listened to me tell my story at an event and came up to me afterwards and said, you know, I've been involved in this issue for a number of years. I always thought that, you know, we have to put the human face to this problem. So what started as a 5-minute film is naturally kind of grew into this 40-minute film that we took to the Sundance Film Festival.
We need the right to defend ourselves, and we need it now. We can't be sitting ducks.
You can't have anything all or nothing in this world, you know? You've got to be in the middle. You've got to have reasonable restrictions, reasonable regulations that come in the middle.
It's really allowed my story and this issue to reach so many more people. And it's really opened my eyes to the kind of the powerful medium of film and how you can really relay a message and help educate people. You know, the sooner I can come to terms with what happened, the sooner I can move forward in my life, you know, and sooner that I'm comfortable with at this point in my life, knowing that I was very lucky. I was very fortunate to be here. And even thinking about it still gets that kind of infinity, like mind-blowing, like, you know, how close I really came to being killed. And you just, yeah, you know, you gotta move on, you know. If I think about that all the time, I'm not gonna be able to leave my house, you know, so you have to put it in some place in you, and if you can turn that negativity into something positive, you can move forward.